Recently, I decided to clean out my CD rack. I carefully sifted through the 150 or so albums, taking out any I hadn't listened to in the past 6 months. As my fingers traced their spines, I read their titles. Each one was something of a blast from the past. I haven't listened to this in a while, or when did I buy this? But mostly, what was I thinking? Echoed through my head. For a long time, I had stopped buying albums. I downloaded 5 albums each day, sometimes more, sometimes less, most of which I never got around to listening to. One day, I was trying to send Black Dice's Beaches and Canyons to a friend of mine when I realized things had gotten out of hand somewhere along the line. I searched in vain for one album among thousands. For an hour, I browsed the 300 or so gigabytes of music on my hard drive until I finally gave up. In my searches, about 3/4 of the albums I came across I had never heard of, and I certainly did not remember downloading. Since then, I have been downsizing my library, deleting albums I don't like. I can always re-download it after all, and throwing the ones I do like into the proper folder. But my physical library, CDs, vinyl, cassettes, has grown, so that's why I had to clean out my CD rack. About halfway through this process, I remembered I'd done this once before. I went to my closet and, sure enough, under some shirts and stuffed into the back corner were the 75 or so albums I'd put there after the last time I organized my CDs 3 years ago. These were the CDs I had been embarrassed that I'd ever listened to, let alone owned, and for good reason. The Simpsons Sing the Blues, Little Bow Wow's Beware of Dog, Creed's Human Clay. I put this down and went back to work. When I finished taking out all the albums I didn't listen to anymore, I had a stack that reached my hips. Then I consolidated all the new albums scattered around my room, stacks of 4 or 5 here and there, into one big pile. A few years ago, I would have never thought I would be listening to half the stuff I do now. Back then, I loved what I listened to, and I thought it was the best music out there. I still like a lot of it. I don't think I'm ever going to dislike the Unicorns or the Arcade Fire or Beulah, but I probably won't listen to them anywhere near as often as I used to. Looking back, I can only smile at the thought of actually liking jam bands. But I think it wasn't just about the music. Most of my friends liked the same stuff, so it just seemed natural to listen to that. As much as we enjoyed the music, I think we used it as a crutch, as a way to define ourselves and our group, whatever that meant. But now we've spread apart, musically speaking. They like a lot of things I don't like, and vice versa. Ultimately, this difference comes from a change in my motivations for listening to music. I don't really like the elitism and snobbery that surrounds the noise and indie scenes, for lack of a better term. And I think most of it stems from a fundamental misunderstanding about why people listen to music. The history of music predates the written word. It can be found in every culture, past and present. This shared heritage implies that early man developed it before humans left Africa 50,000 years ago. Because every culture at every time has had it, it's not just a coincidence. At some point in our evolutionary history, music must have been necessary for survival. But we seem to have come a long way from that, so why do we still listen to music?
Why do I listen to music?
People something to talk about, something to do.
It sounds good.
Because it sounds good.
Because it makes me happy.
I don't know, I haven't really put a lot of thought into it.
It's very girly, but if I'm going out or something, I listen to music that'll pump me up. And
I don't think that's question good. Like, I have no answer.
Conversation starter.
I mean, just kind of like a way to pass the time.
Gives you something to do.
Like doing nothing is better with music going on.
Whether you like to write music,
Wasn't it just like being impressed with the music?
and sort of like who are your influences
yeah, it makes me happy.
for each kind of mood.
I'm like extremely tired and like depressed.
It's sort of like a kind of music or kind of like album that sort of fits.
Pretty easy to put ourselves on a pedestal. Music is a remarkably touchy subject for a lot of people because it involves, or reflects perhaps, so closely on our personality. Whatever your issue with the music industry, its current state, its future, and so on and so forth, the blame rests on someone else's shoulders. As much music as I listen to and as much as I would like to consider myself open-minded, about a quarter of the music I listen to comes from about 25 or so different albums. So maybe I listen to music as a source of comfort, because it's familiar to me. And when you consider the different times people listen to music,
You know, every time I take a shower,
In the shower.
Really, whenever I can. I mean,
every time I'm in my car.
I like listening to music in the car. It's really like a calming experience for me.
Car. So I guess like every part of the day, like it's been like a lot of music.
Yeah, at school, like just walking the hallways.
Yeah, it's usually late at night. In my room. Usually like when I have to clean my room.
When I'm doing my homework,
A lot of music. In school, a lot of music. And like,
I'll listen to music when I'm hanging out with my friends.
it's no real surprise that I seek out the familiar. I listen from force of habit. But sometimes I don't want the familiar. I don't want normal or safe. I want ear-splitting, gut-wrenching noise. Tribal drum beats, or ancient chanting, or circuit-bent toys, or homemade instruments, or feedback loops. I want to reject everything that I've come to love and expect when I turn on the radio. I guess what I really want is connection. I can listen to a record by myself, or I can go to a music festival with thousands of others. There's something intensely personal when I listen to an album at 2 a.m. and feel like the artist is playing a private show in my headphones. On the other hand, when I go to, say, Lollapalooza or Pitchfork, I don't really go for the music. An hour set in 100-degree weather is hardly ideal conditions to see a favorite band. Instead, I do it for a sense of community. I do it because of our genetic blueprint that gives us our need to belong. As much as I think my music taste is personal and customized, and as much as it may be, at the end of the day, I can't say it has been uninfluenced by others. Who knows where music will be in another 3 years? Who knows where my taste in music will be in another 3 years? I have a feeling it won't be too long before I find myself back in front of my CD rack yet again.